Housing is different in every state, so if you're thinking about making the move to Pennsylvania, this video is perfect for you because we're diving into some of the major pros and cons of buying a home here in Pennsylvania. Missing one of these could cost you thousands of dollars, to make sure to stay till the end. I'm Corey Benhart, your Pennsylvania realtor. I specialize in helping people just like you make the move to Pennsylvania to find their perfect home. All of my contact information is below. Let's first get started with one of the major mistakes that I'm seeing people make here when they're buying a home, and that is getting too caught up on the age of the home. The East Coast, and specifically Pennsylvania, is almost a century older than the West Coast, which means that it is very common for us to have homes that are 50 to 100 plus years old. Of course, we have newer homes and of course brand new construction homes as well, but a large majority of the homes here are pretty old. You've probably heard the phrase, they don't build them like they used to, and that is certainly the case. The first pro of buying a home in Pennsylvania is that most homes here are built exceptionally well, because if you're a home builder, you're going to need to use the appropriate, sturdy, long-lasting materials that will need to get us through all 4 seasons every single year for a very long time. So you're going to build that home exceptionally well to make sure that it withstands all of the elements that Pennsylvania experiences. Unlike homes in the South and West, where they're not really built for rain, snow, ice, etc., that's why some of the older homes were built with mostly stone and brick, because they are best for keeping the house warm during the winter and cold during the summer. I have a lot of clients that will automatically tell me that they want a home that was either built in the last 5 to around 20 years. And I completely understand why they might want a new home, but truthfully, some of the older homes are built so much better than some of these newer homes. And of course, you'll have issues whether you move into a house that is 100 years old or a house that is 10 years old. It is different types of issues, but the overall sturdiness, you really can't beat with those older homes. In Pennsylvania, we have roofing materials that can last 30 to 50 years, HVAC systems that can last up to around 30 years, hot water heaters that last around 10 to 15 years. So everything truly is built for longevity here in Pennsylvania to get you through all of the multiple seasons. Another pro of buying a home in Pennsylvania is that we don't have to worry about the natural disasters that a large majority of states have to worry about. Technically speaking, Pennsylvania can experience tornadoes, hurricanes, and earthquakes. Although I am born and raised in Pennsylvania, of course, I still live here, and there's really only been maybe 1 or 2 times that I've ever really heard of any type of these natural disasters affecting anywhere within Pennsylvania. The other good part about not having to worry about natural disasters is that we don't have to worry about having the increased homeowners insurance that some of these states have to worry about as well. For example, Florida, where homeowners insurance can be upwards of thousands of dollars a month just because of all of the natural disasters that often hit Florida. The next pro that we have to talk about is the actual cost of buying a home. Besides the prorated state and local taxes that you'll pay, you'll also have to pay an only 1% transfer tax. In some parts of the state, such as Philadelphia, that 1% can be much higher, but as a blanket statement for just about everywhere else within the state, it is only a 1% transfer tax. When it comes to property taxes, the effective average property sales tax within the entire state of Pennsylvania is 1.49% of the property's assessed value, but that can drastically change depending on where within Pennsylvania you're planning to move to. Speaking of cost, the next pro that we have to talk about is, of course, the average sales price of a home here in PA. If we're looking at the much wider range overall average price of a home for the entire US, that price is right around $416,000. Comparing that to the average sales price in Pennsylvania, which is only $269,854, for a total difference of over $145,000 more affordable in Pennsylvania. Of course, these are just averages because, of course, we have states like New York, California, etc., where the home prices are astronomically high, and of course, plenty of states where it is a bit below that average price point as well. Same thing with Pennsylvania. There are towns, zip codes within Pennsylvania that are extremely high when it comes to the average price point, and of course, towns that are well below that as well. So of course, depending on where within the state you're planning to move to and what your price point is, I can certainly help you find maybe some of the areas, or at least which portion of Pennsylvania might be best, of course, depending on your other characteristics and criteria as well. The next pro might be one that you've never even thought of, and that is that in Pennsylvania, we have multiple ways to heat your home, which sounds a little weird, but stick with me. I've had clients who have moved from all different states, and a large majority of them have said that most of the homes in their home state are all heated with the same source, whether that be electric, natural gas, propane, etc. Here in Pennsylvania, I wouldn't say that we really have one central source of heating, but instead around 4 to 5 options, depending on where the home is located and of course the age of the home as well. Some of the most common heating sources that you'll see here are natural gas, electric, propane, and one that many people don't know about is actually oil heat. Oil heat is essentially the same concept as filling up your gas tank for your car. You'll have a big oil tank either in your basement, on the side of your house, and in some rare cases buried underground. And when the oil gets low, a large truck will come, hook up their hose to the exterior spigot and fill up the tank. It's pretty common in older homes before natural gas was available in that area. The only real downside of oil heat is that you have to schedule the services to come out and have the tank fill up your oil tank, but also it can be pretty costly compared to some of the other heating sources, such as even electric and certainly natural gas as well. Now that we've gone over some of the major pros of buying a home in Pennsylvania, let's go over some of those major cons that you might not have ever heard about or really considered, starting with the first one, which is being the homes with pools. If you're moving from a state where just about every house had a pool because it's such a hot state that you can use it just about all year long and you never have to close the pool during the winter, well, that is the complete opposite of what it's like to have a house with a pool here in PA. Most of my clients that say that they want a pool in their new house are those that are moving from out of state, from a state where just about every house has a pool. So they can't even imagine living with a house that doesn't have that in their backyard. But truthfully, here in PA, I have probably had more people say that they don't want a pool than those that are actually seeking out a pool. And the reason being is it is a big time and monetary commitment to have a pool with all the maintenance, opening and closing it every year, and all of that work and money to really be able to enjoy it maybe 3 to 5 months a year if the pool is heated. Another potential con of buying a home here in Pennsylvania is that there is a chance of getting snowed in. In PA, we can have some years that we get only a couple of inches of snow, but we certainly have had years where we've received multiple feet of snow, and of course, sometimes the horrible blizzard, so much so where people are stuck in their homes and the streets, schools, businesses, etc. are all closed for about a day or so until all of the salt and plow trucks can take care of the roads. If you don't like snow or the possibility of having to be snowed into your house for maybe a day or so, then maybe Pennsylvania and the Pennsylvania weather that we receive might not be best for you. Another con that truthfully isn't really a con because it's very easily fixed is radon gas. If you're not familiar with radon gas, it might sound pretty dangerous and pretty scary, and truthfully it can be over time, but let's get into that. Radon is a gas that is released from the soil through the natural process of rocks and soil breaking down over time. Since this process occurs underground, radon gas is mostly tested and prevalent in basements. Low levels of radon is not harmful at all, but high levels of radon in a basement can cause long-term issues such as lung cancer. Radon gas is completely invisible and can't be smelled either, which is why it's important to have your basement tested for radon. Exposure to radon gas in the very short term doesn't affect you at all. More so if you were to buy a home, never have it tested for radon, and then live in that home for 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years, that's when over time it can become harmful. The EPA have guidelines so that if the radon test comes in at a 4 or higher, that's when they recommend to have the radon mitigation system installed in your home. And it's essentially a large fan that is dug into the bottom of your house, up through your house to the exterior, up above your roof and blown out. It's essentially a constant fan that continues to collect radon gas under your foundation to then raise it up and out above your home so it's not hazardous to anyone in your home or anyone around the house as well. Once a radon mitigation system is installed, home inspectors recommend to have that system tested every couple years just to make sure that it's still doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. Radon gas is pretty common. It's really not that big of a deal as long as you either have it tested or have a radon mitigation system. Those systems could sound pretty scary, but truthfully, they're only around $800 to maybe $1,200 to $1,300, depending on the size of the home, how high the radon levels were, etc. Another con that you might not have considered is the limited new construction options in some parts of the state. If you're moving from one of those states where there are large, mega master plan communities, such as Florida, Texas, some parts of California, etc., you might be used to these new construction, big, beautiful master plan communities that have 200 plus homes. And truthfully, we don't really have anything like that here in the state of Pennsylvania. Of course, we do have plenty of new construction housing options in some parts of the state. Of course, some towns have more than others. So if you're looking for new construction, and if you're looking for maybe an area that has a lot of new construction, make sure to reach out to a local realtor such as myself, and we can help you get in touch with some of those builders to see which builder and which housing option might be best for you. Some parts of Pennsylvania are booming with new construction, but in some towns, there really isn't much room for the large new construction neighborhoods. So if that's something that you're looking for, make sure to reach out to someone and they can help you identify where those areas are. So although Pennsylvania, of course, doesn't have the ocean accessibility, we still have plenty of bodies of water available, such as large rivers, lakes, streams, etc. Having those types of bodies of water, that of course means that some homes can still be in a federal floodplain. If you decide to live in a town near one of those large bodies of water, you'll have to deal with living in a flood zone. When people hear flood zone, they immediately think that those people are constantly dealing with floods and are just constantly cleaning out their basement full of water, and it is nothing like that at all. Do some homes probably get flooded a lot more than others? Of course, but I've known plenty of clients who have lived in a flood zone for 10 plus years and have never even had a drop of water in their basement. It really does depend, of course, how large the body of water is that's near you, how close you are to that body of water, and so many different factors. This is when it's important to make sure that you hire a very good real estate agent to make sure that you do some research to see how often that house floods, if at all. Besides, of course, a potential flood, the only other downside of living in a flood zone is having to have flood insurance, which could be as little as a couple extra dollars a month up to potentially a couple $1,000s extra a year. If you're ready to make the move to Pennsylvania, I would love to help you find your perfect home anywhere within the state, or more specifically, the southeastern part closer to the Philadelphia suburb area. All of my contact information is below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on this next video.